The Middle Ages, an era of brutal wars, collapsing kingdoms, and empires rising and falling, also witnessed one extraordinary family whose power eclipsed every royal dynasty in Europe. A family so influential that merely speaking their name made an entire continent uneasy. They didn't build their empire with swords or armies, but through marriages, treaties, and above all, financial power, quietly operating behind every throne. For centuries, people whispered a half-joke, half-warning. If a throne becomes empty, look at who the Habsburgs are planning to marry. And strangely enough, that joke wasn't far from the truth. From the Holy Roman Empire, the Habsburgs built a network of control that stretched across almost all of Europe. They produced more than 20 Holy Roman emperors, ruling immense territories: Austria, Hungary, Bohemia, Croatia, Belgium, the Netherlands, Spain, Portugal, Italy. And even within the Vatican, many popes and powerful cardinals were tied to them through blood, alliances, or debt. This wasn't just a royal family, it was a system, a machine, a dynasty whose power flowed through crowns, through silver, and through the hidden financial arteries of Europe. So how did they do it? How did one family dominate a continent for nearly 1,000 years? And behind those glittering thrones, was there a financial force quietly pulling every string? To control medieval Europe, the Habsburgs didn't need one throne. They needed a collection of them. And they assembled that collection with cold precision. The first pillar of their power was the Holy Roman Empire, the political heart of Europe. Emperor after emperor came from the Habsburg line. Maximilian I, the mastermind of empire building through marriage. Charles V, who ruled Austria, Spain, and territories across the world. Ferdinand I, Rudolf II, and many more. For centuries, it was practically assumed that the Holy Roman Emperor would be a Habsburg. That meant laws, taxes, and armies across half of Europe bent to the will of one bloodline. But political power was only one piece of the puzzle. The second pillar was Spain, the wallet of Europe. When the Habsburgs secured the Spanish crown, they gained access to the richest empire of the era. Spain controlled gigantic silver mines in the New World, Potosi, Mexico, and beyond. At one point, nearly 80% of Europe's silver flowed through Spain, and Spain was in Habsburg hands. If Europe was a living body, silver was its bloodstream, and the Habsburgs held the heart. They chose marriages not for love, not for honor, but for cold financial gain, marrying into kingdoms rich in mines, ports, trade routes, and tax revenues. Silver funded everything: alliances, armies, imperial elections, political loyalty. With enough money, you don't need to win every war. You simply decide who does. The third pillar was Italy and the papacy, the spiritual engine of Europe. Italy wasn't unified. It was a web of city-states: Naples, Milan, Florence, Venice, wrapped around the most powerful figure in Catholic Europe, the Pope. The Habsburgs didn't need to put one of theirs on the papal throne. They only needed to surround the papacy with people who owed them everything. Cardinals, bishops, noble families, many tied to the Habsburgs through marriage, favors, military protection, or debt. When Italy depended on Habsburg armies and cardinals depended on Habsburg gold, the Vatican's decisions, crowning kings, approving royal marriages, even legitimizing wars, often tilted in their favor. Religion became a sacred shield covering the machinery of power. And when you combine all three pillars, political authority, spiritual legitimacy, and financial dominance, you get a structure that few empires in history have ever achieved. From the outside, it looked like luck. They married the right person. They inherited the right kingdom. But look closer and you'll see the truth. Marriage was their tool. Silver was their fuel. The church was their cloak. The Habsburgs didn't ask, how do we win this war? They asked, who decides the next one? And by controlling the crown, the blessing, and the money that fed the armies, they controlled the fate of an entire continent. But like every empire, their dominance eventually cracked. After World War I, the Habsburg realm collapsed. Crowns fell, borders broke, their empire dissolved into smaller nations. The world believed the dynasty had finally vanished, but they hadn't. They simply stepped out of the spotlight, into the shadows. Today, the Habsburg legacy still lives in Europe's financial institutions, elite networks, and the noble families intertwined with their bloodline for generations. Their power no longer shines from thrones. It moves quietly through boardrooms, foundations, and alliances most people never see. And here's the unsettling part. If Europe once followed the will of a dynasty hidden behind royal marriages, today's world follows the decisions of groups hidden behind flows of global money. Times change, but the invisible hands, they never disappear. They simply move deeper into the shadows, shaping history from places the public never notices. So the question that haunted medieval Europe now echoes again. Who truly controls the world's money today?